guys. Today we're going to talk about whether you want to take, and I'm adjusting my camera, I apologize, whether you want to take an insurance in your private practice. So, first, let me just start out with who I am. My name is Adrienne Fuller. I'm a speech language pathologist. I have a private practice for the past 13 years, and I have made all the mistakes and also all the great decisions, right? And I just want to share some of them with you. We did build our private practice on insurance. We're about 94% insurance provide payments in our practice. And so I want to give you kind of the lowdown of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I also mentor private practice owners, and I mentor people who are exclusively private pay. And so the beautiful thing about owning your own business is that you get to make the decisions and the things that work best for you, your business, your family, your budget, all of the above. Okay. And so if you know me at all, I am a person that uses a lot of notes. So you're going to see me look down and up. But what I aim to do is be kind of your big sister in business, right? I think we glamorize it and we glorify it, and it is an amazing thing. But I also think that it is very hard. And so I'm here to support. So let's talk about it. So here are some of the things you need to consider when you are considering taking um, insurance or being a private pay only kind of practice. And this kind of works for kind of all businesses, especially all practices, no matter if you're PT, OT, speech, mental health, anything like that. Okay. And so the first thing you need to consider is your client base and demand. And so I always say, a lot of times we think, oh, I need to be in an affluent area to only take private pay. And that is just not the case. Many of us are working people, right? We're working class or we have a degree, but we have insurance plans but we also want the best. Most people, guys, want the best for their families. And so when you are considering that, you don't have to be in the most affluent area, but you do need to be in an area where the parents or the patient can pay for the service that you are offering. And so you would need to do kind of like an analysis. I've gone to the Small Business Development Center in my area, I've gone to SCORE, and they can help you with that. But also just knowing the fact that if parents can, two income households, things like that, can often support the service that you offer. So don't always just stop there. But if you are getting a lot of calls for your service, and the first question is, do you take insurance? And if you say no, and they say, um, okay, thank you, then that use that also as your uh, like a lot of times we need to take data. Use that as your data and just start an informal kind of measure. Like, okay, I've got 5 calls today and 4 of them asked if I had insurance. That will start to measure that over time, a month, a quarter. So you can then kind of see, oh, is this something I want to consider? All right. And so I just want to say this about taking insurance. Consider client accessibility. Many of us that are listening to this live or listening to the replay have insurance plans. When I need help, when I need a service, I'm always going to go first to the people that are in my provider network on my insurance plan. And so a lot of times we kind of make it super personal when it's not that way. It's just people want to use the insurance plans because they're quite expensive on both ends, right? Okay. Another thing you need to consider is your reimbursement rate. So automatically know insurance is probably most likely going to pay less than your private pay rate, which is okay. But then you have to decide if it works for you. And so a lot of times and I'll see this a lot on social media. Well, such and such a plan pays $50 a session, and that's just too low. Yes, that is low. So then what you need to decide is, hey, can I provide these same services in a shorter session? Specifically for my 92507 speech therapy clients, that code tends to be untimed. So if that's untimed, hey, for this amount of money, I can provide your child or your client, your patient, this patient, a speech therapy session for 30 minutes. And is that ideal in all worlds? Not necessarily, but this is me personally and how I always phrase it for my insurance patients and even my mentees. I would rather give 30 minutes of my expertise and my planned session to a patient, and we can see a lot of progress and maybe more than that patient might see in school or in a group setting. So consider that before you. Sometimes I feel like we get on this high horse about what people need and what they don't need. And sometimes with insurance, you're able to offer that, but just in a little bit different way. All right. And so another thing is financial considerations. So the thing I love about insurance is I have a big referral source. An insurance plan is going to be a great referral source. It's a great way to build your business. It's a great way to build your practice, right? The thing is, with an insurance plan, almost always there are going to be administrative costs and a little bit more overhead. Let's just be real about that. When you're private pay, you say, this is what I charge. You most likely will send a link to your patients or to to the patient, and they'll pay it. If they don't pay it, you say, okay, either we continue or we don't. But if you are billing insurance, you'll get a flood of people in, but then you have to kind of figure out how to manage that load of people. And usually that means hiring another person. That doesn't mean hiring a billing person full time, although it can. It doesn't mean getting a virtual assistant, although it can. But it just means you're going to need someone to help you kind of put some systems in place, which you should have anyways, because you want that for your own peace of mind, right? And so you that does come with that. That's not to say, and here's what my things. A lot of times as business owners, private practice owners, we get into this, well, I can do it. But let's consider this. If your sessions are $100, $150, $200 a session, that means for an hour, you're getting that paid. You're getting paid that. So it makes more financial sense for you to hire someone 10, 15, 20 bucks an hour to do those things so you can do what you love and what you do best, and that's treat patients, right? All right. So, another thing that you do need to consider when debating about insurance is the delayed payments. So, I think I want to also do one on school contracts because this comes into play there too. When we have a job, we say, this is what I worked, you pay me. When we have private pay, we say, this is what I did, you pay me. All right. When it comes to insurance, there will be a delay. You have to submit the claim, you have to get it approved, then they have to pay you. And I will say this for us, we have gotten ourselves into a great system, a great rhythm where we get insurance payments twice a week, every single week. So it's almost more reliable at this point than our private pay because we bill private pay every week. Everything is different. I do it this way. You might say I bill at time of service, so I get paid immediately. That's best case scenario. You may say, hey, I only bill once a month. Then that would be different. So consider that. All right. Um, Now, here's one more thing that you do need to consider when you are debating whether you should take insurance or not, and that is the ethical and legal considerations, especially in healthcare. I know their insurance has have things like, can an assistant see their patients? How long can we charge them for no shows or things like that? Or can we balance bill, which most times is a no. And so you do, and also there are much more record keeping requirements. Things like, do I need a pre-auth? You don't need that in private pay, but you'll need that in insurance. So those are things that you do want to consider. Also, credentialing. Private pay, not needed. In insurance, you will always have to get credentialed yourself, and whoever else is on your team, in your company, in your practice, you will need to get them credentialed, which is also a time thing, correct? Um, and so, another thing that can be an issue with taking insurance is your revenue and your business model. So, if you're new, you are just providing service, getting the payment, and that's fine, right? Well, there's a time, and I think that time should be sooner than later, that you want to start to project, and so make financial projections and make decisions based on those projections. That is very hard to do sometimes with insurance, but on the other hand, so is private pay. We are entering an economy that I feel like it's very interesting, right? Like, things that people pay for just like that, they don't do anymore. And you may find, as a private practitioner, a private pay only practitioner, that people are saying, you know what, maybe we'll wait for the school. You know what, maybe we'll not go from twice a week to once a week. So that also can affect your bottom line. So I'm saying nothing is at this or that, because private pay is great, but it's subject to an economy. Insurance is great, but it's subject to a lot of rules, regulations, and also economy and the political kind of winds, right? And so those are things to consider. I'll just wrap this up with just a couple more. Your competition. I always feel like there's room for everybody. You could have a private practice practically next door, and both of you would do really, really well. You can offer something they don't. You can offer something in a different way, right? And so, if other people are accepting insurance, you might, if you're private pay, you may say, hey, this is my rate. It might be just as comparable as if you had a big deductible. And so come to our practice and we can get you in right away. If also, though, if you take insurance, if there's a competitor down the street with a waiting list, you can say, hey, you can actually reach out to that competitor and say, if you have a waiting list, I just want you to know we are open and we do have openings on our schedule. There is nothing wrong with that. All right. Um, the thing about, and I will just wrap this up with choice. We started this business for choice, and it is your right to choose how you want to do business, right? If you want to see people on your terms, no one telling you what to do, private pay may be the absolute way to go. If you're like, I want to make a bigger difference, I want to make sure I see kids of all payer sources, or I want to see kids in this particular area that may not have access to those funds, and maybe insurance would be the way, that is certainly your choice. Taking insurance does limit you in how long sometimes you can see people, the amount of people you can see, but there are still limitations to being a private pay owner, right? Practice owner. You are still limited in your load, how much you can handle. And let me just say this, many practices that are bigger practices take some form of insurance. Many that are small take only private pay, but there are always exceptions. I know huge practices that are private pay only, and I know really small solopreneur practices that say, this is what I can take, and this is all I take. And when I'm full, I'm done. All right. And so I hope I have helped you if you're on the fence about taking insurance or not, some of the things to consider when when you're making the choice. But let me say this. I started out saying I want to be a solopreneur. I don't want to grow. And now we have a huge team of like 25 therapists. So things change all the time. And it's your right to change your mind because it's your business, it's your rules. So take that freedom that business and owning a business gives us and use it and exercise it. I hope this was really helpful. I'm going to be back soon, and I hope this has helped with you making in your quest to decide whether you're taking insurance or not. Don't be afraid to take one or two plans. You don't have to take them all. You can even just start with one plan and see how you like it. All right, that's all for today. Have a good one.